Hey, Spuddies, Potato McWhiskey here, and today I'm going to be going over all the little problems that I have with Civilization 7 UI. Now I say it's going to be all the little problems, but there's obviously going to be a few that I miss. I've complained a lot about the user interface in Civilization 7 before, and a lot of people have asked me to do a breakdown to explain what it is exactly about the UI that I don't like. So that's what we're going to be doing today. The way this list works is that the first category is going to be what I consider to be the critical category. If these things do not get fixed, these things are so bad for the game that they're hot fixable, right? That's what the critical represents. And then, the next category is going to be, if these get fixed within the first year, that's good. And then the next category is these need to happen at some point over the course of the life of Civilization 7. All right, let me pull up my notes here because I actually had to take notes. There are 26 different issues that I have identified with Civilization 7. So let's go over the critical ones. One of the most critical ones is it literally just happened, but the city banner disappearing. I don't know what causes it. I can never make it work 100% of the time, but just sometimes when you close a city, the city banner will just disappear. Oh, there it is. It happened again. This is a very, very, very annoying interface bug. It was introduced in one of the hot fixes. It's probably the most important one that needs to be fixed because the workaround takes a lot of actions, right? If I have a garrison in the city, I have to click twice to make the city banner reappear. It's not even very consistent, but it's one of those bugs that causes fatigue. It increases the number of actions you need to take in order to get through a game massively. It causes frustration. So that's one of the biggest ones that needs to be taken care of. Now, another issue with the game is you can see up here, I have these yields. And what happens in the game is, if I buy this city park right now, this is issue 2, if I improve the yields of a city, these numbers up here to the top will not update until I close the city. So you can see here, right? If I buy this city park, I'm just going to put it down on any old tile, right? I buy it right there. You can see this number still says 188 until I close the city tab so I can actually see the effect it had on my empire. And that's really annoying. I would love to see that get fixed. It should update when you build a building, not when you close or open the city. There is also a similar issue with town specializations. So this is our third issue. This is to do with town specializations. When you choose a specialization for towns, you have to close and reopen the town for this town detail screen to update. So I think we can all agree, right, based on this road, that Saint Etienne is connected to Paris, okay? So if I convert this to, let's say, a growing town, right? Right now, Saint Etienne is using the food for itself. If I convert it into a fishing town, right, we all agree that it is now sending its food to Rome. But in order for me to actually see if that's happening, I have to close the settlement screen, reopen it, and then open this again to see that, oh yeah, look, it is actually sending food. This one just needs to be fixed. It's just make the UI update when you choose a specialization. Again, this is another one of those, it's frustrating because when I'm trying to make decisions, I have to do a bunch of actions because I have to close the screen. I have to reopen it. Sometimes the city banner disappears. So then I have to click through my garrison multiple times and then I have to click this. And then I look over here and it just breaks up the flow of the gameplay so much and causes just these little moments of frustration. I love Civilization so much, but little things like this, it's death by 1,000 cuts, man. It slowly erodes the enjoyment you get from the game when when you have to do thousands of interactions like this in a game just to get from an ancient era all the way to a victory screen. That gets quite frustrating. Another one, almost everybody has encountered this, but basically if you have a building, I don't have an example here because I just loaded up a random modern age game, but basically if you have to repair a building in your city, when you click the repair and then click on the tile, it doesn't actually take the thing that you repaired out of the list. Would love to see this get fixed. It's really, really annoying. Pretty much everyone has encountered it. I think that is critical. That is hot fixable. Do I have No, I don't have a fleet commander. Let me quickly grab myself a fleet commander and a ship so I can show you the next one. So the fifth problem I have with the UI that I consider to be critical is that there is no ranged attack hotkey for air or naval units. So basically, right, if we go into here and we look at the options menu, we go to keyboard and mouse, and we can see here the range attack key is, used to be B for bombard. And you can see if I press R, and this is a ranged unit, right? I press R, no targeting reticule comes up, which means every time I want to bombard something from range, I either have to click here like this, right? I have to click like this and then he bombards, Or if I don't feel as confident the AI or the like auto targeting or whatever, I have to come down here and click the naval attack button and then click. When I would just really like to press R, get all the highlighted tiles, because sometimes you want to click the naval attack button anyway so that you can actually see what you can possibly target. It's so incredibly frustrating. Every single time I'm ordering an airstrike or I'm trying to navally bombard or coastal bombard, it's a very frustrating process because it just adds so many actions to the game. And that's why I consider this to be a critical issue with the UI that needs to be not that it needs to be hotfixed, right? Let me be very clear, is that if I were in charge of managing Civilization 7 as a project, I would consider this is hot fixable, right? Like, oh, we need to get this sorted. So would love it if that ranged attack applied to the naval attack as well as air units. Air units have the exact same issue. And with air units, it's even more annoying because you have to like click on the air commander and then click on the unit. And it's a whole thing. Streamlining the gameplay, the most important part of streamlining the gameplay is making sure that I can execute the vision and my actions really, really easily. And actually the next issue here, issue number 6, right? There's no hotkey or reliable way to deselect a unit. And so what I mean by this is units are very sticky. So if I click on this boat here, right? And normally in my mind, right, with the way that I interface with a computer is when I click on something, if I click somewhere else, right, I'm clicking over here on this open water, I expect this ship of the line to get deselected. Now, I can understand that that might cause like issues if like you're left clicking to drag the camera or whatever. That's fair, that's reasonable, maybe there's a reason. But I don't think there's any reason not to at least have an option in here to, you know, somewhere in game, it's like left click, deselect on any tile. And the reason that this is so annoying, right, what makes this so egregious is you can't just like pressing escape doesn't deselect it. The only way to deselect a unit is by clicking on another unit or clicking on the tile, and that's annoying. I don't even think clicking on a city deselects a unit, does it? No, it does. Okay. Now, what makes this extra turbo frustrating is, okay, and this will be, right, when I tell you this, you're going to be like, oh my god, that explains it, is you can click on a unit's banner to deselect it, or sorry, to select it, but you cannot click on its banner again to deselect it. And that creates this kind of situation where you can select this unit by clicking here, but you can't deselect it by clicking here. To deselect it, you have to click on the actual tile. And it just causes a lot of frustration. It feels like the game is ignoring my inputs a lot of the time when I'm controlling my units, when I accidentally click on its unit banner, because extra annoying with the unit banner thing, right? So like if you see here, right, if I normally click on this part of this hexagon, right, I will deselect the unit, right? But if I'm a little bit careless with my mouse and I click on this boat and I'm like, oh, I want to deselect, but I'm trying to click on his tile, but I click on his banner, it doesn't actually deselect him. And so that's what's like extra frustrating. Even though I'm clicking on the tile, right, I might just be making this action really, like I might be like, you know, I might be over here and I'm like, oh, I just want to deselect this unit really quick, and I swing my mouse down and I click thinking it's going to deselect him, but because I'm not clicking on the tile, I'm clicking on the unit banner. Yeah, it's just one of those things that, you know, causes a little bit of pain. So yeah, would love to see a action to deselect a unit. I think it would go a huge way to improving the game feel, and just like a lot of the time in Civilization 7, things that happen are I have to take more actions to achieve something than I would otherwise like to. And similarly here, actually, we've got another really good example. Is almost every time, this is the seventh critical issue with the Civilization 7 UI, ding, 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 is when I want to interact with a city, 90 whatever % of the time, I want to interact with it more than once, okay? However, if you click this button here, choose production, it takes you to the city screen, and I choose this grocer, and it closes the screen. Like, I don't want that to happen. I want an option in the game menu where I can say, don't close city screen. Because I don't want the city screen to go away. What I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to build a scout and a scout and a scout and a scout and a grocer and a this and a that. But if I follow this prompt here, it will go, oh yeah, click, boom. But actually what I want to do is I want to make a cube, and I just run into this issue so many times. Now, I don't think it happens if you manually open. Oh, it even does. Never mind. Okay. It's just like if there is nothing in the queue and you open the city, it will close the city, and that's frustrating. I would like a toggle. I want to be able to control that. I don't want to close the city. And the thing that I find frustrating about this is it feels like the game is taking control away from me. And so really, again, I would love a checkbox that says close the city screen after choosing the first production. And I would just like to untick that and never turn it back on. Because I can see why it works like that, right? Because, you know, for the average player, you get the pop-up and it's like, oh, let's build something in the city. And then the game is like, well done, you built that thing, now go look at something else. Totally fair. But it's not how I play the game, but I understand why it is the way that it is. I would just really appreciate a button that I can toggle to turn it off. Oh, and this is actually a big one too. So it has to do with the production queue. This one is so annoying that I think it's hot fixable, okay? This is critical. So this is the 8th and final critical bug, okay? In Civilization 6, if I had a queue, I could just click on the thing, right? I could click on this field cannon and move it all the way to the top of the queue, right? I could drag it across, right? I distinctly remember that. In Civilization 7, I have to like chicken peck it up to the top of the queue one by one, and it's just like the number of actions that I'm required to take to achieve my vision is just too high. So I'd really like to see that get changed. I miss being able to easily rearrange my production queue. What if I'm thinking about things and I'm like, ooh, I want to build a mortar, a settler, and a field cannon, and I'm like, ooh, no, I should build the settler first, so I'll move that to the top of the queue. But then maybe I should get the field cannon before the mortar. But what if I got the mortar before the naval commander? Oh, but I definitely want the field cannon first, right? I just being able to drag and move things around is just like the way that it works in Civilization 7. It's just the number of actions that are required is frustrating and unfun, and it doesn't feel like it was an interface designed for a mouse user. That frustrates me as a player, as a PC player, right? I'm like, let me click things and drag them and move them, you know? So that covers all the critical bugs. So this next section is what I consider to be maybe not necessarily bugs, but issues with the UI. This is the high priority section of the UI issues. They're not critical in the sense that I don't think that, like, if I were managing, you know, the Civilization 7 as a project, I wouldn't deploy hotfixes for them. But I think these are issues big enough that they need to be addressed sooner rather than later, right? Like, so within maybe a year, right? These would need to be addressed within a year. It's hard to find an example of this in this particular game, but it has to do with the city religion banner. So usually a religion will show up like right here to the right of the happiness thing. And I don't know why it's not doing it right now. I think it's because I have unit mods or something like that going on. But sometimes when you're like looking at an enemy city and it has a garrison here, the unit banner of the garrison of the enemy city will cover up the religion. So I constantly find myself having to zoom in and zoom out and zoom in and zoom out and trying to figure out like, oh, which religion is this city, you know? And that's just like slightly frustrating and slightly annoying. And the thing that's sad about this is because it was a problem that was largely solved in Civilization 6, right? Because you had the religion lens. And I genuinely never thought that I would say this, but because I was super tired of the religion lens, but I kind of want it back. I know by the end of the game, you would get tired of it automatically turning on when you would select a unit. But I think bring it back to religion lens and give me a hotkey so I can just like select a missionary, press 4, boom, then I've got my religion lens up. The religion lens was genuinely a really elegant solution. I don't know if it's what should necessarily come back, but I think the spirit of the religion lens was a good one. The ghost of religion past is haunting us, you know? So I think one of the first things that would be useful is if the hover over tooltip of a city told you its religion. And like the status of its rural and urban population. So that's like probably like the easiest to implement fix. And what I mean by that is because it's just a tooltip, right? Like let's say Bordeaux has Catholic and a Catholic urban population and a Protestant rural population. Okay, I hover over it and it says Bordeaux is a town in the French Empire. And here's the population breakdown. Whereas right now, if I just hover over it, it's like Augustus, French Empire. Augustus, French Empire. Augustus, French Empire. Town. Like, just make that tooltip a little bit better. That would be like the first. I actually don't know what the development of Civ 7 looks like, but this would be like probably the lowest effort dev time thing. Like the sort of thing someone could probably program in a weekend, and it would probably only have like 5 bugs. I think a more ideal solution would be to normalize the size and width of city banners. You can see here, like, trying to find a city with a really short name. China is usually good for that. If a China Civ is in the game, they usually have like really small city names, like only like 3 or 4 letters. Like here's Dublin. Oh, Dublin's in the game. Sweet. But like look at the width of Saint Etienne. Okay, it spans 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles, whereas Paris just barely spans 2 tiles, right? It's almost fully covering 2 tiles, where Saint Etienne, it's easily into this tile and this tile, probably like covering like 2.5 tiles of width, whereas Paris just about 2. So I would say maybe apply a little bit of more normalization to the width of city banners. Because that would help make sure that, like, because the problem is, especially amplified if the city has a really short name, this sort of like the unit that's garrisoned in it will often cover up the religion little baubles that are here. Yeah, so I think those are my 3 main suggestions. Again, I don't think the developers have to implement what I think is the solution, because I don't know what their backend looks like. I don't know what their development process looks like, but the 3 solutions I can come up with are normalizing city banner lengths, bringing back religion lens in a new format, maybe a better format, improve the religion lens, right? And also tooltips when you hover on a city that just tells you the religion. Be kind of useful. So the next issue with the game, this is the 10th hype, or the second high priority, but the 10th UI issue with the game, is that when a city prompts you for construction orders, it doesn't tell you what it was doing before. So like, I'll build this grocer here, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and end my turn. So I'm going to tap this next turn button, and then you'll see it'll finish the grocer and then not tell me what it was doing before. So here we go, right? I press choose production in Paris. Boom. I have no idea what it was working on before. And it's not the end of the world, but man, it would be nice to know. It would be really nice to know. I gotta say that, right? It would be so nice to know what my city was doing. And I would love to see that getting fixed. I would love to see that getting fixed. I think relying on a person's memory in order for them to play the game well is a mistake. So yeah, don't fix that, please. I would really appreciate it. The 11th issue I have with the UI in Civilization 7 is actually a bit more of a feature request. And I find myself needing it more and more as I'm slowly learning, like, what are good buildings, what are bad buildings, what should I be building in my cities, what shouldn't I be building in my cities. And it would be really nice if I had the option to just, like, if I could right click or do something to this port and hide it from the list so that it doesn't show up as a valid option for me, because I know, right, in this game that I don't want to build a port. Like, for whatever reason, I as a player, I have decided I do not want to build a port. It doesn't align with my goals. It doesn't provide value, in my opinion. Maybe I'm doing a challenge where I don't build any buildings that give gold. Whatever it is, I just don't want this to show up in my list of choices for this city. So I would love to be able to add it to the hidden list in here so it doesn't show up. Like, just says, oh, hidden by player was whatever it should say, right? And it would make me happy. Just put a little thing I can click on to hide a building, or put it to the bottom of the list, or whatever. It would be nice if I could be like, oh yeah, I don't have any plans to build a port in this city, so I'm just going to hide that. It is a feature request. It's probably complicated to implement, but I would love tools and abilities that allow me to plan and control the sort of, like, it's sort of like taking notes, right? The ability to take notes in game is so useful, which is also why I want pins to return, but that's not even in this video. I think we all want pins to return. Yeah, I wish I could hide buildings. This is a high priority issue. The next one, right? This is number 12. If I pop in here, you can see, let's say I open up the age progress screen and I go to science here, and I'm like, ooh, I need to check, like, I need to research flight. Where is flight in the tech tree? Okay, so I go to the tech tree and I'm in here. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, there's flight. Okay, so wait, what was it I needed? Oh, wait, where was I? It's like the flow of decision making there is just really confusing. So I think it would be really nice if the age progress screen would remember what I had it open on last time. Like, let's say I'm looking at culture and I'm looking here and blah blah blah, and I'm like, ooh, right, so where do I get artifacts? I get artifacts there. Okay, so culture. And it would just be really nice if the age progress screen remembered what I had open last time. It would also be really nice if I could, like, from the age progress screen, like, if it's like, oh, you need flight, if I could click on this and it would open either the Civilopedia page or, like, open up the technology screen with flight highlighted with, like, big golden arrows pointing at it. That would be nice. Yeah, but mainly I just want the screen to remember what I had last clicked on. And then there's a sort of the next issue, number 13, is basically the same issue with the social policy screen. Like, sometimes I'll be looking here, okay, policy, okay, I've got +4 signs and towns. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 towns. Okay, so what was that? But it doesn't actually remember that I was over here in policies. And that's not an issue right now when I've only got 4 cards slotted in. But once you have a good few cards slotted in, like, damn, like, that becomes a problem. Also, this screen has so much wasted space. Like, does there need to be, like, 500... I know 500 is an exaggeration, but there's, like, 80 pixels here or whatever. That's so many pixels for me to scroll down and look at happiness. I know this is particularly bad on France, but there's so many windows in the game when it's like, bro, why does this have a scroll bar? You know what I mean? Like, what's this? What's this? You know what I mean? Like, just small little tweaks and things that need to be just ironed out. One thing that absolutely needs to make a comeback is if I hover my mouse, so this is issue 14, sorry. If I hover my mouse over the food, the production, the gold, whatever this town or city or whatever is making, I want a breakdown of those yields. I want this information here. And I just wanted to say, like, from buildings, from improvements, baseline, like, I want a little, like, this number doesn't help me. Don't make me, give me this information, okay, with the simple action of putting my mouse here rather than having to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clicks. Like, there's so many clicks to get the information that I need in order to analyze and understand the game. And so just being able to hover over these city yields it would make my day. And the same thing is true here. Like, I really, like, when I'm hovering over my gold treasury, I just want to see, like, how many resources, how much gold is coming from my settlements, how much, or from my towns, how much gold is coming from my cities, how much gold am I spending in unit maintenance. Like, that information is in here, but I have to dig into this sub menu and like process, and this is like an Excel spreadsheet of data with zeros and confusion, and it's too much. It's great, but my brain does not function in that screen. So yeah, it'd be really nice if I could hover over my influence and it would just say, you're losing 10 influence because you're a warmongering bastard. And I'd be like, great, thank you, game. Also, hot take, you should get a bonus for being under your settlement limit. I feel it's true. Even if it was just 1% for every settlement you don't have. And so the next category is what I would consider to be the necessary priority. These are things that need to be addressed over the life cycle of Civilization 7. However, they are not what I consider to be... These should be addressed after the things that I've just talked about. In the sense that if I were managing the project of Civilization 7, I would not put these to the top of my priority list, right? Consider this sort of a stack ranked list, except there's 3 stacks. One is hot fixable, one is needs to happen as soon as possible, and the other one is, if we can get to it, amazing. And at the top of the necessary priority has to do with tooltips. In fact, it's actually 2 things in here. It's both better tooltips, because like there's just so much going on in the tooltips that is not great. I don't even know where to begin, but I just don't think the tooltips are very good. I actually think one of the areas where the tooltips are the best is in the technology tree, but even then they're not very good, because like if I'm hovering over flight, I want to see all the things that it unlocks. But if I'm hovering over this, I'm like, ooh, what is this individual specific thing? I want it to just show me aerodromes and not the whole damn thing. Also, I don't think it's good for a tooltip to cover up the thing that you're hovering over, right? So I would like make the left edge of this tooltip cling to the edge of flight. Like if I were the person in charge of designing this, that would be how I would do it. Don't necessarily know if that's good, but I don't think it's good practice to have a tooltip cover up the thing that you're hovering over. That's my personal opinion. And then the most important thing is, and honestly, I'm kind of confused and baffled and blown away that it's not already in the game, but it is kind of crazy to me to release a 4X strategy, grand strategy game, whatever, in, 2025, the year of our Lord, whatever, without nested tooltips. Nested tooltips where you can hover over something, lock the tooltip, and then go and hover over the tooltip for more information is like, it must be foundational to the design of every strategy game. And so like if there was only one thing from this necessary priority area that the developers could get implemented into the game, nested tooltips with links to the Civilopedia, with better tooltips, that would be the thing. Tooltips are amazing. People love nested tooltips, okay? The people yearn for the nested tooltips. Exploring the data of your empire is incredibly fun, and it's painfully missing from Civilization 7. Like, my number one feature request for Civ 7 is nested tooltips for the UI. Anyway, yeah. If you want to know how nested tooltips work, go look at a game like Victoria 3. Go look at Age of Wonders 4. At the Gates by John Schaefer was the first game that I know of that used tooltips. I think he was the Civ 4 designer. Yeah, you have to have nested tooltips. You can't, like, I will never give a positive score to a game's UI ever again without nested tooltips. Like, that is how important they are, unless there's a way around having, they're just so important. It's part of the reason why Old World is such a joy to play. I don't like comparing Civilization 7 to other games, but like in this instance, I think it's necessary just to really show how like the competitors are eating their lunch when it comes to the UX design, user experience, user interface. Okay, so that was the first two necessary. We're up to the 18th request. When I am specializing a town, I would love to see what yields I'm getting. You don't have to put the number here. You don't have to put it like in my face. But like if I'm like, ooh, a farming town, how much food would I get? Hover over. I would like it to say when I hover over this, how much food I would get. Because that lets me think of like, oh, okay. If I get 31 food from here, and then I get 10 production from here, well, then that feels like the farming town is better. So it would just be really nice if there was a way to tell, like, Hubtown, how many settlements are you connected to? I don't know. Like, a lot of what's going on is guesswork, right? And sometimes the guesswork doesn't have, it's either guesswork or you have to do counting or, you know, like I could come in here, in theory, to Bordeaux and zoom in very carefully and count like, oh, there's one plantation, there's a farm. Okay, there's a farm, there's a farm. There's a plantation that's 5 times 3. So this should be making 55 food plus 10% for Rome, so like 60 food. Yeah, okay, boom, 60 food. So like you can do the math yourself, but like why make me do the math when the game can do the math for me? Okay, so please make the game do the math for me. Sort of similar complaint or request or feature request is it would be really, really nice to know what, like, particularly for something like this. I'm like, how much production am I getting from Princeps Civitatis, right? How much am I going to get? Like, you know, again, you don't have to put the number on the card, but when I hover over it for a tooltip, tell me how much that is, right? Just give me a ballpark figure, just so I can be like, oh wow, that's actually 10 production. That's really good. Like, just a little bit of tooltips, please. So 21 has to do with wonder movies. Basically, when you build a wonder in Civilization 7, like I might research, right? Let's say Oxford University, turn 10. And then I might finish building it by turn 25. That's 15 turns of me doing stuff, and I've completely forgotten what Oxford University does by the time that it's built. And during the Wonder movie, it would be really nice if I could just like hover over something to see what the Wonder does. Because then I finish the Wonder, and the game is like, all right, continue playing. And then I have to go in here, and I'm like, wait, what Wonder did I build? Wait, what does that Wonder do? And I have to go all the way out here to the technology screen and be like, okay, Oxford University, it gives 4 science, it gives 2 free technologies, it gives a wildcard attribute, and it's ageless. Got it, okay. Whereas it would just be really nice if during the Wonder movie, you could just hover over like the description of the Wonder or the quote or whatever, and it would tell you like you could in Civilization 6. That was a Civ 6 feature, and I'm asking you to bring it back. Please. I would love you forever if you did. Another one is the game kind of shows you this for certain units. I can't find any examples right now, but like, how much production does this port actually take? Like, this is issue 22. How much production does this port actually take? It says 5 turns. So it's like 500 production? 400? Like, is it 450? How much production does this actually take, right? And it would just be really nice if it said that somewhere in the UI. I'm pretty sure it used to say it on hover over, and it just doesn't anymore, and that makes me sad. It used to in Civ 6, I mean. It would also be really nice if there was a way, when I have this town selected, and I go to, you know, or rather, let's say Toulouse, for example, right? And I press this. It'd be really nice if I could see a way that this city, which cities are connected, right? Maybe you just have like a little arcing green laser line, like, oh, this is connected, this is connected, this is connected, this isn't connected. And then similarly, I would really like to see which towns are connected to this town. And I would also like to see which towns could I connect to this town if I built a trader in here. That would be really, 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 really nice. I'd be really happy if they could implement that. that would be fabulous. And sort of a similar one here with issue 25 or thing 25 with the UI that needs to be fixed. I would love to be able to see my Empire's trading range. Like, I would love a trade range map mode here. It just goes like, yep, all of these cities are in your range. Whereas right now, I buy a merchant, I click on the merchant, and it's like, okay, these are green, these are green, these are green, these are green. Oh, this one's red. Why can I trade with this but not this? Right? Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? And it would just be nice if there was like a little bit more information. It's hard to tell, like, what's in trade range, what isn't, what is my trade range, what, you know. It's just more data. Give me more info. Show me more, please. Yeah, so the 25th necessary issue I have with the UI is I want to bring back the end of age replays and the end of game replays. Like, I think it's really cool. Civ 5 had them. They were really awesome. Old World has them. Lots of games have them where you can just like go through the replay of the game and see like, oh, I settled this, and you can just see like the color and the map and the stuff, and I think that adds a lot of value. It was like a nice little reward for finishing the game or finishing an age, and we just don't have them anymore. And so it would be really, really, really nice if we could see that come back. You know, bring back the graphs for the game. It was a lot of fun to click through them. You know, I had a really fun joke, you know, oh, let's check the religions founders graph, and I can't do that anymore, right? It's gone. It's just not there anymore. They were a lot of fun to play around with. I missed the replay movies. Yeah. Now, that covers all of the critical, the high priority, the necessary things. This last one is really just for me. This is the would be nice priority. I really, 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 really hate this aspect of the UI, and I'm really sorry. But I hate this gradient behind the numbers at the top. And I hate this weird little dark patch in the top left of the screen. I hate it. I hate it so much. It makes more sense, I guess, right? If I'm being fair to the developers, right? When you have like objectives tracked up here, it does make them like, I guess, a little bit more visual. I would either take, right, as a solution, because and let me tell you why this is a problem. Because sometimes I'm like, you know, I'm lined up like here, and then I glance up over here, and I'm like, oh, that contrast, I can't see what that number is, and I have to like scroll to a higher contrast area of the map to be able to read this number. Just make it like a bar that cuts off here and goes left. Make it a bar that cuts off here and goes right. You know, this gradient that goes across the screen, I viscerally hate it. I viscerally hate this like black gradient here on the top left of the screen too, behind these buttons. I want them gone. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. I don't like the design philosophy behind the UI in Civilization 7, which is that they tried to get the UI out of the way of playing the game, but instead what has happened is now the UI gets in the way of playing the game because the UI is just not up to snuff. And so I think, listen, put the UI right in my face, okay? Narrow the port of view that you want for a Civilization game is like from about here to about here to about here to about here. The rest of that real estate outside that portal, you are free to put whatever you want in, okay? Because you do not want the player looking at Rostov-on-Don through UI elements, because that looks like dog shit. What you want is for them to scroll over to it and look at the city in all of its beauty and all of its glory. And you want the edges of the screen, you want the eye of the player to be drawn towards the center of the screen. And the problem is with the existing UI is that my eye is being drawn away from the center of the screen because I'm trying to figure out what the hell these numbers are, because there's not enough contrast when they're like overlapping stuff. I'm like, oh God, like what is that? I have 1691 settlement limit? Oh my God. You know, it's just like little things like that are just frustrating. The settlement limit is the hardest one to see, as is the followed closely by influence. Everything else is a little bit easier, but yeah, just please no more gradients. Please. This also is up there with, I hate that. Like, I can see my empire. Like, see this sugar right here? See that? If I open the tech tree, you can kind of see the sugar. It's actually behind urbanization, so let me move it one scooch to the right. But you see that sugar? You can see it right there behind that tech. And it's visual noise. Like, get rid of this gradient, give you a nice flat, clean surface. Yeah. Civilization 7 has a lot of visual noise in the UI. And we need it to go, in my opinion. Otherwise, aside from all those UI issues, I love the game and it's amazing. And I hope you guys enjoyed playing it. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. And that wraps up my video on Civilization 7. Obviously, I'm really enjoying the game and I'm having a lot of fun playing it, but, you know, you run into a lot of issues when you play a game a lot. I want to thank you guys very much for watching. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!